Hello and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill.
And where do you want to start today?
I think I'll start off talking about the NBA award show tonight.
Okay.
Which is, it's a business. And again, it's part of that strategy that we've talked about on numerous shows about trying to create interest in your sport 12 months out of the year.
Right.
So start of free agency's coming up. Everybody has to renounce by Friday, so it's a lead in for that, which will be a whole other season of its own again. But I think the flaw in this is awful late if the award only counts toward the regular season.
Agreed.
And that's just not a good thing. I mean, I think if you ask the NBA when the season is, it's till the last game's played.
Yeah. And it's also fun. I mean, we've seen many times in the playoffs, too, where, whether it's Karl Malone getting the MVP instead of Michael Jordan or something along those lines, like I would say I care less about the MVP award than any other time during the season right now.
Yeah. But I don't think there's any – this is one of those seasons where, to me, it's pretty clear-cut. If you would incorporate the playoffs, there's no way it's not LeBron James. There's no way.
If you incorporate the playoffs, yeah.
Because he is absolutely, he's the best player in the world, period, anyhow.
Without a doubt.
So if you give it to somebody else, last year, I can see more or less last year you give Russell Westbrook because he did a triple-double for a whole season.
And they had just lost KD and he dragged that team to the playoffs, yeah.
Nobody cared.
I know. And Harden, I know he's going to win the MVP, maybe a unanimous MVP somehow this year, but, he travels a lot. And again, he disappeared again in the playoffs.
Again, which gets back to the point, you should the award and should the show, since it's this late, should the show be for the whole year? Because if you're just announcing the awards now, right?
Yeah.
It just seems crazy to me. And so, I'm criticizing it because more or less the timing. If you want to have, you could have the same show and done it during the playoffs and given people the awards for the regular season, right?
Well, that's what they've normally done, yeah, and I think so.
Yeah, it would have been, that's what, it's not a big deal.
And again, I know they've been showing, the different suits and the fashion and way people are dressing already tonight, but, I care about...
They build it up so much, they better be dressed pretty outlandishly tonight.
I think a little bit so. But the other thing, too, going on right now is, I don't care about who won the MVP last season. I want to know, where's LeBron going to play this year? Is Kawhi going to be a Spur? And if not, where are they going to trade him? And then, some other free agents. We still got, Kevin Durant said he's definitely re-signing in Golden State. But, you got a little bit of...
Which way he's re-signing.
Right. You got a little bit of trouble in, Houston with Chris Paul. Because, again, they're in a weird situation. Do you want to sign a 34-year-old point guard to a, 5-year max contract for $200 million and be on the hook for him for the rest of his career?
I'd have to vote no on that.
Right. And I know they said that their out is you technically have a new owner, so you can blame the old owner, saying, well, the old owner promised that I'd like to still give it to you, but the new owner says no. But then does that mean Chris Paul and his best buddy LeBron jump to L.A.?
Could happen.
And I still feel like if you're the Spurs, you got to trade Kawhi.
Well, yeah, if he's going to come back and play for a year or not play for a year and spend your payroll, yeah, you got to get rid of him.
And, the value is as high now as it's going to be at any point. And there's some good packages out there.
You could sign him long term.
Right.
If you're renting him for a year, I don't know what the value is.
No, it's very true. And if I'm a Spurs, I know that they've made it clear they don't want to trade him within the Western Conference. But I'm just going to take the best possible package and not care about whether I trade him to the Lakers or the Clippers or anybody else. I just want the best, whatever's going to help me in the future. I'm going to try to unload Kawhi and, I can't remember the big's name down there. LaMarcus Aldridge. He just came off an All-NBA season, and I'm just going to restart. I know Pop doesn't want to do that with his career coming to an end, but...
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we said last year on the show, really early on, I said LeBron would be a Laker. And then, I'd given thought to would he be a 76er? But now it just seems more and more and more like all the signs are pointing back to the LA thing again.
Yeah, with his kids out in LA, his family out in LA. I know that all the NBA insiders, for whatever they're inside.
Although his son is enrolled at the school, he was going to play it in Akron, where LeBron played.
Oh, I think they're enrolled in LA schools now, though.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not surprised if that's where he goes.
No, not at all.
Very logical to me.
I figured for a second when Brooklyn freed up some cap space, if they could offer, can you be a player owner at this stage?
No, I don't think so, but it would be a good idea.
Because, that's the only way you get LeBron right now if you're a team other than probably the LA team or the Cleveland team, is if you can give him, you can be a player coach still, technically, right?
Yeah, you can be a player coach, absolutely.
But not a player owner.
LeBron's been a player coach for years.
That's true. Not officially, obviously, but... And he's kind of been player GM, which has never really worked out very well for him.
Yeah. My sad NBA news is that Carmelo opted in.
Yeah.
But we knew that. That's just a ridiculous amount of money. Some of those contracts are just insane. There's nobody worth $27 million a year. Nobody.
Maybe LeBron James.
That's just a ridiculous number. It puts it out of whack.
It does. And do you think that affects Paul George re-signing? Because now they're stuck with the dead weight of a $30 million Carmelo that they can never get rid of.
No, and I think they, he was kind of nasty on, a lot of people in Oklahoma City are upset that he resigned. But, that was going to happen. He's not going to turn down $27 million.
No,
nobody's going to take that contract.
No, and with the way he's played the last probably 2 years, he probably couldn't get a 3-year, $27 million right now. So
I don't know if he get a 27-year, $27 million contract right now.
No, because he's slow and he can't shoot anymore.
No, and he's just definitely not a fit for that team. I didn't like the trade when they made it.
No, I think, as we've said before on this thing, I sort of thought maybe you got,
You think we get maybe Olympic Carmelo?
Olympic Carmelo, and maybe just, he had that one. Granted, the ring chasing is never. You always think about Gary Payton and who was it? Karl Malone when they jumped on the Lakers, and that was a disaster. But I thought maybe you got one really good year out of Carmelo, where he played a super passing, high energy stretch four for a little while or something. But
I think that's what everybody hoped for, but it just didn't materialize.
I know. It's very sad. So are we saying
Friday LeBron will opt out on Friday?
Yes.
By that time, I think we'll have a better idea of the Kawhi thing, what they're going to do. Probably know more about Paul George. So, July is going to be just like it was last year. The NBA leading into preseason football. Training camp's opening up. And now this year you have the World Cup, but the Americans aren't in it. And neither are some of the traditional teams that Americans follow, like Italy and Ireland. They're not in it either.
No, it's true. I didn't even pay any attention to the World Cup. I know very little, actually.
Well, I said I was going to root for Iceland just because it's so small.
That seemed to be the popular, I don't have a team, let's root for Iceland pick. And not just because of the drinking ad that came along with it. I know Ronaldo missed a big kick today, and the Messi fans gave him a lot of crap. But that's pretty much the extent of my soccer knowledge, which is really sad. I just,
Yeah, I have no idea who played today or who won today.
It's a lot to take in, all of it. Exactly. But
we're going to start eliminating teams this week now, so
yeah,
maybe they'll increase some interest in it. I don't know. For us.
Well, I can't pretend like it's gonna. I'm not excited.
So I went to a baseball game. I went to the Rays and the Yankees yesterday.
In Tampa, no less. The worst stadium in Major League Baseball.
And so I would say the crowd was 65-35 Yankees.
That makes sense.
Which is really odd sit there and you know where you are and you know who the home team is and you hear a cheer and you're instinctively thinking it was good for the home team, and it wasn't. But it was kind of fun, and the Yankees are the big bad Yankees. But it was kind of fun to see the Rays sweep them for 3 games.
Yeah.
And then win yesterday on a walk-off.
Well, Tampa's one of those cities that, we both of us have lived there at different points. Like, it's a very, you don't have a lot of Tampa people,
No, you don't. I mean, there were Carlas and Carlas, people with Yankee flags and Yankee stickers on the cars driving there. And I went to the game with the Italian club, and they had 2 buses, and I bet you 50 to 60% of all the people that went were Yankee fans, just transplanted New Yorkers.
Yeah, it's like you got a lot of New Yorkers down there, and I mean, the Yankees just, their fan base, I mean, if you come from another country, you're a Yankees fan. Like, everybody wants to be a Yankees fan. It's hard to compete with that team. And they are really excited. I mean, they always win. They always have interesting characters on their team. And then right now you've got, the biggest, giantest, most monster sluggers in the world on that team right now. So they're exciting to watch. And they have a cool helmet.
I think Stanton might have been 5 for 5 yesterday.
And they have a good hat.
4 for 4 and a walk.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I know. And I think Tampa would have more fans if they were still the Devil Rays. I thought it was cooler.
Well, actually, they wore the Devil Rays hat yesterday. They wore the Devil Rays shirt the day before.
Oh, okay.
Trying to do retro weekend.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was an interesting logo. There's a lot of colors in it.
Very many colors in it, yes.
So, I don't know what to say. It was kind of interesting.
Now, sticking with baseball, I think we talked a little bit off air about how nobody seems to want to compete in the home run derby. And it's almost becoming like the major leagues versus the slam dunk contest where, in the NBA, it's, the 5th man, the 12th man on the team who's just a really good dunker. Or, you call up some guy from, the D League and you bring him onto your team, the roster for 15 minutes so he can play he can dunk contest. And you got guys like Aaron Judge, the big home run hitters don't want to compete.
No, and he competed last year.
He did.
And it seemed like it threw his hitting off for a while right after the contest. And then the expectations are so high, and then you're under a microscope, and it's just what do you have to gain? I mean, if you win, it's great. People remember it for 2 or 3 days, but if you lost, they remember it, especially if you didn't perform well. People remember it longer.
Now, and the one thing I would say in the dunk contest, it is a little bit more of an ego, like, what can I possibly do to win this dunk contest if I'm like LeBron or somebody?
Yeah.
But Major League Baseball, there does seem to be a pretty significant drop. Like, people who compete in the home run contest almost always tend to slump after the home run contest.
They did because they changed their swing to have more elevation and more lift.
Right.
And it throws them off, and they don't adjust it. Plus, you get somebody throwing it into you. Just, they're not trying to get you out. They're not trying to do whatever.
Right, but it's like, like I said, with at least with the NBA, it seems like you've got a branding attitude problem where your star players don't want to compete because they're afraid they're going to lose and how that affects their brand. For Major League Baseball, it seems like it's a legitimate, because you are changing your swing, and now that everybody that seems to do it goes in this huge slump after just destroying the ball in the first half of the season, that's a different sort of problem on some level, right? And, I know the one guy that people were talking about that might bring a little bit of excitement, and I wouldn't admit I'd watch too, even though he's not currently on the roster, Ichiro, who does crank out a ton of balls in batting practice. He's come legendary for it. Yeah. But again, that's a very temporary solution. I would want to tune in to watch Ichiro because I've always liked Ichiro, and I think it'd be fun to watch him in a home run contest. But that doesn't really solve long-term problems, obviously. That's, one guy this year, and I don't know who you get, moving forward. Do you bring in celebrity home run hitters? How do you, like I said, I heard somebody joke about disgraced home run hitters where you had, your Bonds, McGuire, Canseco's, Sosa's, but how do you fix this contest if you're Major League Baseball for your All-Star weekend? Or do you just
and I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, get some people in there that are going to want to be there, and they're going to be interesting, right?
Right. Well, we've seen like NFL players and some other players from other sports, like to come in and try to crank it out, right?
Yeah,
And I'm sure there's enough. I think you could put together, 6 to 10, other athletes from other sports, celebrities, and you're just trying to crank it out. And I mean, because if you're going to continue not to get your top guys for both the ego and the fact that they're worried about their swing, like you've got to figure out some way to generate some excitement.
yeah, you got to do something differently. I mean, people are going to watch this. Maybe make it a skills competition, but maybe make it a team home run hitting contest. And you have the National League versus the American League, and it's all team oriented. It's not individuals.
True.
And maybe more people participate that way. Or a lot of like Madison Bumgarner, a lot of pitchers want to say they can hit. So you have a pitcher's home run derby. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, just shake it up. Don't be afraid to change it. And if people want to do it the way it is, then look at a different way of doing it.
Oh yeah, and I'm not sure that he could even do it, but like again, if you had, if you got The Rock to do it, I'd love to see The Rock try to hit home runs.
Yeah.
And again, I know it doesn't, it's not, it wouldn't be your traditional MLB, but like I said, if you're losing all
You know,
your,
they did that a couple of years ago. They used to do that.
oh, okay,
Like, I saw Meatloaf and Danny Glover in a home run hitting contest.
yeah, and like I
And they
said,
were horrible.
oh, of course,
And I think maybe that's why they got rid of it, because they couldn't hit anything.
but and again, I don't really know much about either of those men outside of a few periphery facts, but like, do either of those guys have like a history of being like,
Meatloaf couldn't even button his shirt.
yeah, I was about to say, I was like, neither of those guys seem
Danny
like they
Glover
were,
swung and missed like 8 times.
and those guys weren't exactly in their athletic primes at that point either,
They weren't in any kind of prime.
They got a prime, right? Exactly. But I know I've seen like there's been a few pits, and again, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh on everybody over here for a second, but I've seen a few times where the Steelers or the Penguins show up in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and some of those guys, like Sidney Crosby, can rake.
Yeah.
And again,
Jack Lambert hit one out.
yeah. And again, like if it was like a hometown celebrity team going up against other I don't know, some way to create some sort of buzz.
But your point is, it's stale. The players don't want to do it, and so you need to figure something out.
Right. And again, I think
And I agree.
the big reason being the fact that it does seem to affect them moving forward. So yeah, that's pretty freaking huge. We saw some interesting, and I know this is going to sound Pittsburgh, but this is actually very exciting. Did you see the 6-figure deal that our boy Juju Smith-Schuster signed today?
I did see that.
He is going to endorse some esports, which I think is
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I mean, it capitalizes on his lifestyle, what he does, what he's interested in. So he's a legit endorser for it.
right.
He's 20 years old. He's right in the wheelhouse of the target market. And he has a certain exuberance about him that he will draw attention to the product.
Oh, without a doubt.
So I thought it was a great idea.
I mean, it's great for him too, obviously, because I think he's one of the first. I mean, I know like a lot of NBA players have really endorsed Fortnite, and it's been nice to sort of see the crossover because I feel like there was always sort of, and this is still existing in the gaming world. There's always like sports gaming, sort of your Maddens, your FIFAs, and those things, and then there's your other gamers. And now this is like a nice melding where it's like, well, your real athletes are playing the same, Fortnites and esports that everybody else is playing, which is pretty cool, I think. So hopefully it brings that community even closer and, opens up both sides for some other things. If all goes well. Yeah, it's very exciting.
So it was fun to see that. I like the fact that the company was perceptive enough to know that it doesn't matter what he does for a living, he's got an audience and a good social media following, and he can help your brand.
Exactly. And again, maybe you bring in some football fans that weren't quite aware of some of the stuff he was into, and now it's like, well, Juju's into it. Now I want to be into it too.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I mean, you also have that opportunity too.
And obviously, we hope that this isn't a sophomore slump with all of his cool attention-seeking he's getting lately.
Yeah, you and I do hope that for sure.
That he comes in and just plays really well. But I think, again, and I'll just do one more Steeler thing and then I'll be done with our Steeler talk for today, is that luckily, apparently, James Washington, our Oklahoma State friend, has been just really showing out in camp. So at least that competition is still there to keep everybody, from getting too comfortable in their position.
And I hope he does really, really well, and I hope he plays a lot.
Exactly. Well, sports-wise, especially considering we didn't do a lot of World Cup stuff, it's a fairly slow sports week for us.
Yeah, really, not much going on other than this warm up to the free agency in the NBA, and we talked a little bit of baseball, but
and I guess before we move on,
hockey free agency is going on.
It is. It's been pretty quiet so far. Hockey draft was pretty, but we did have the NBA draft, which we did not discuss. It went fairly close. You predicted, obviously. The Atlanta Luka Doncic Mavericks trade was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that was. I thought it was strange.
It's strange, but I guess if you're the Hawks, and apparently the Hawks have just been enamored with Trae Young the entire time.
But they could have drafted him.
Yeah, but you got to move down and get a future first-round pick, and you still got your guy.
Yeah.
So, on some level, I always respect GMs like that are like, this is our guy, with Jason Tatum last year, We would have taken him at 1, but if you're willing to give us a first-round pick and we can still get our guy, we're going to take him.
Good point.
I thought, this year's draft, it seemed like all season long it was a lot more exciting than it really was. Or at least the potential of this incoming class and their effect on the NBA season. But looking at a lot of the draft picks, I don't really know what we're, if we're going to have any huge impact,
Well, did you like the Magic pick?
Based on everything I've seen, he was probably the best available player on the board. I really like Colin Sexton, the guy Cleveland took.
I did too.
And
I like him a lot.
I know the Magic are in a place where they've been such a poorly run franchise for a really long time, as far as at least the front office goes, that there was probably nothing they could have done. But on a team where you've got Bismack Biyombo, you've got Vucevic, in the last 2 years before this, you drafted 2 more big guys that basically can't shoot, no matter what Aaron Gordon did for that couple of weeks in the beginning of last season. And now you drafted yet another 7-footer who, despite... Yeah, I know he had the video that went around where he was shooting threes in a gym with nobody on him, but he didn't really show that he could shoot in college. So
that shooting threes in a gym with nobody on him, that's not comparable to anything.
No, it's not. But he had I'll give him this. He had a nice natural shooting stroke. But now you have basically 5 centers, and all fairly traditional centers, outside of Aaron Gordon, who I guess is a 4, but another guy that really can't stretch the floor. Incredible athlete. And then you have nobody at point guard, including the fact that you released Sheldon Mack today. Not that Sheldon Mack was any sort of starting NBA caliber point guard, but you basically have nobody that can shoot in a league that's all about shooting now. So,
well, what my most surprising moment was at the draft?
What would that be?
That the Sixers drafted Mikal Bridges, whose mother works for the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the social media went all over it, talking about what a great idea it was, and then they trade them.
I know. That was harsh.
And they're my friends, so next time I talk to them, I'm going to tell them they're heartless.
It was a great trade, though, because you got Zaire Smith, who may end up being a better player than Bridges anyway. And then you got the magical 2021 pick, which is like a lottery ticket. And especially because it's either, 2021, 2022, or 2023, they're going to allow high school players into the draft.
Probably.
So besides your normal run of all the college players, in one of those 3 years, all of a sudden you're going to have every high school All-American McDonald's kid in there too. If you're Philadelphia, now you've got this magical 2021 pick from Miami that, who knows what Miami's going to be at that point, but it's another asset you have if you're going to go after, they can throw together a nice package for Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And again, maybe Kawhi goes, to Philly, sees he's playing with a good coach, a nice young nucleus, and, things are good. And maybe his uncle shuts up and he allows him just to play basketball in the best basketball situation. Doesn't worry if it's in LA or not in LA. And then, as we're in Philadelphia, you did see that his shooting coach basically admitted that Markelle Fultz literally had the yips.
I heard something today. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, he basically came out and said that last year Markel Fultz forgot how to shoot because he had the yips, which I don't know how to feel about that. Is it, like, is that something you can just pop back from? Because I know, like, in baseball, you had, like, Chuck Knobloch that couldn't throw to first base all of a sudden.
Mackie Sasser was a great hitter that the Mets had, and they traded him to the Pirates, and he couldn't throw back to the mound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
It's such a bizarre.
Steve Sachs had an issue. There's been a number of guys that got the yips.
Yeah. And you hope just from the fact that he is, I think only going to be 20 years old. Like, you'd like to see him recover. Whether you like Philadelphia, you'd hate to see somebody go from being the number one consensus pick in the draft to having the yips and never being able to shoot again.
Well, at this point, he sure doesn't look like the number one pick in the draft, does he?
No, but there were moments last year, towards that last month of the season before the playoffs, where he got to play. You got to see some of the passing. You got to see the speed, and he's an incredibly fast dude. He's probably already like top 10 fastest guys in the league with the ball in his hands. He's not quite John Wall or Westbrook, but he's fast. He's got a lot of skills. It's just a matter of, can he get out of his own head and what get, especially like what put him in that headspace at that, at that point. Because he seemed like a pretty confident, cocky dude, and all of a sudden you just forget how to shoot, which is still just so weird. And
any entertainment news tonight?
I actually marathoned a Netflix documentary show called The Staircase about Michael Peterson and the trial.
Oh, the wife killer.
Granted, this was a documentary made by Michael Peterson over the course of the 15 years of the trial. So it clearly had a slant to it. And, I don't care. I don't think this is spoiling. It was a real life thing. It already happened. You'll either watch it or you won't watch it. The district attorney did cheat, did provide false evidence. The other guy's been... and I think no matter what you do, though, it's still the fact that, and this is something people can learn right away because it happens in like the first episode, he had 2 separate wives that died from falls down the stairs, which just...
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy coincidence.
Because like I said, it's a really entertaining, really well done documentary. And it's like 13 parts, like 40 minutes apiece, but I still was fascinated with the entire thing. And, he's very well liked. He's a jovial guy. His family, his daughters, his adopted daughters, who were the biological daughters of the first mother, who fell down the stairs and died, and the adopted daughters of the second mother, who they basically called their mom, who fell down the stairs and died, they supported the dad. They still, to this day, support him 100%. But no matter how much, like I said, it was sort of not like a PR thing, but, he came off looking really good in this documentary, unsurprisingly. But at the same time, in my mind, no matter I throw out everything else, and I'm like, what are the odds that 2 different women who you were married to fell down the stairs, and this is I don't mean to get too graphic, but it wasn't like in the movies where somebody falls down the stairs and like breaks their neck. They were both covered in blood and contusions on the back of their head. So I can't wrap my head around it happening to one man twice, 2 women he's married to. It just doesn't seem plausible,
So what do you think about it?
That's the thing I can't get past. Like I said, everything else, the district attorney did lie, put false witnesses on the stand. Their forensic expert was caught lying, and he's like disbarred or whatever happens to forensic people. And it looked like they did, decide this is our guy, and we don't care. We're not going to look for anybody else. But I just can't get past the fact that he had 2 different wives that died in a horrible, tragic, bloody falling down the stairs incident. So I still think he did.
Okay.
I just, I can't get, I don't know what those odds are, but they've got to be really low.
I would have to say so.
And again, like I said, he comes across very likable. His family loves him. Like, it's a very pro-him documentary. But I can't get over that one little hump. So, but it is a really well done and entertaining little story. It's sort of the true crime. This is what happened kind of thing. So,
okay.
I would say watch it if you got some time on Netflix. if you're not that familiar with the case, or even if you are, I just want to see the behind the scenes kind of stuff.
You got a food moment?
I actually am repeating my food moment from last week. I went back to Central City Barbecue because it was so delicious the week before, but I got a few different things this time. I still got the burnt ends because they are the best burnt ends I've ever had in my entire life. I had to eat them again.
And your beef burn-ins, right?
Yes, I believe they're beef burnt ends. But I got some smoked wings as an appetizer, and they were outstanding, delicious smoked wings. And last time I was there, the first time I got the 3-meat plate, and I was debating over my 3rd meat, and the bartender was trying to talk me into turkey. And as you know, I'm not a big turkey guy.
You're not a turkey fan.
Not a Thanksgiving turkey fan, and not even really a barbecue turkey fan. So last time I went with, I got the chopped brisket, I got the pork, and I got the burnt ends. And this time, I got the wings as a little appetizer, I got the burnt ends, and they had a few other options, but, I was kind of hemming and hawing, and the woman was like, just get the turkey. And I got the turkey, and it was outstanding. It was smoky, and it was moist. It wasn't like a dry. Typically, I feel like.
See, that's the thing. That's what I was going to wonder. Was it dry?
No, because turkey. That's usually the issue with turkey. Is that turkey's a fairly dry. To me, it's pretty dry most of the time.
Was it a turkey breast or a turkey?
It was a turkey, but it was. You got big slices of the turkey.
Okay.
And it was really good. And then they had one other menu that I'll just throw out there because I'm probably not going to bring them up as our food moment again. And I haven't tried this yet because I wasn't quite sure how I feel about either of these things. But they have candied pork belly burnt ends is another menu item.
Yeah, I'm not on that, I don't think.
The candied part sounded a little bit sweet. And I bet very mixed. I mean, as much as I love pork, and I do love pork, I've always had very mixed results with the pork belly. The times that I've liked it the most, it's almost just been like a piece of smoked pork. And the times that I haven't liked it, it's been like a big hunk of fat with a little bit of meat in it. And I don't know.
Like the piece of fat back bacon.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what actually is the pork belly, because I think it's sort of the fat part is the more traditional pork. If you get pork belly, it's more the big, you get obviously a layer of meat, but the fat is a big part of it.
Yeah, I couldn't do that one. Well, I had a good food moment.
All right.
In Sarasota, the Philippi Fish Camp.
Okay.
And never been there before, but they always have a crowd. And so we went the other night with your cousin Kevin, and we ordered a whole fried snapper.
Okay.
And it was delicious.
And is that something you split as a table?
Mom and I split it. But, I've eaten a whole snapper before.
I was about to say, it was
a giant snapper, but
yeah.
But it was really good. And frying it kind of score it, do something to it, but the fish is still moist. It's not dry. It's really, really good.
Okay.
And you get the whole fish just looking at you on your plate.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'm going to try to find somewhere new this week in New Orleans. I can have another food moment for next week. But again, Central City Barbecue, very delicious.
Well, I'm going to Parlor Burger tomorrow night in Minneapolis. So that will probably be my food moment.
Is that a cheese in the inside Juicy Lucy kind of burger place? Or
no, this is the one like they had in the stadium.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You said the best burger you've had. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to go to the place where they originate and see how it is there.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
And I also want to see if they are still no condiments, no accessories, just burger and meat. I want to see if it is that way at their place. So that's my goal.
I have to admit, that really appeals to me as a burger eater.
Somebody likes a plain burger. Yes, it does. I can see that.
Well, it means you don't have to cover it up with a bunch of other stuff. You could just enjoy the burger as it is.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, like I said, I was totally impressed with it.
And that's fantastic, yeah. And I don't know what sports we're going to have next week. We might have a more entertainment, other sort of focus next week again, but unless something exciting happens sports-wise.
Unless somebody signs a free agent deal already, or somebody makes a trade.
Yes, LeBron says he doesn't want all the pomp and circumstance. He just wants to assess the best basketball and family situation for him, and he'll go with that. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
Well, thank you everybody for listening again. Again, please rate us. We really need more ratings on iTunes if you're listening to us on iTunes. and hit the subscribe button because it really helps a lot. And again, if you want to join the Sutton Impact family and you can afford to give a little bit, even $1 a month is fantastic. It really helps out. And I guess that's it for this week.
You know what? Next week, I will be able to talk about the athletic director search I just did for USF.
Okay, cool.
And I'll talk about that a little bit because, when it's over, I can talk about it a little bit.
And that is something we don't get to hear a lot about every day, so that sounds interesting.
Yeah.